The original Space Shuttle STS program patch is a triangular patch that, again, hides the use of the chevronic vector symbology. And that also goes for many of the STS-specific mission patches. Every single one of the International Space Station expedition patches carry the vector symbology. The Russian Mir space station used the vector symbology. That was their official logo. You can even go deeper and look at military-industrial complex companies. Look at the logo on a company like Lockheed Martin, 2 vectors. The X-Prize logo, Ames Research Labs, U.S. Space Command. When you get into the military realm, the United States Space Command, their official logo is the vector symbol. And when you look at the military's individual space-specific programs, all of them deal with vector symbology in their official insignia. And the question really becomes, who or what are these people paying homage to? And the truth, quite frankly, is out of this world.
This painting, entitled The Madonna with Saint Giovannino, was made sometime during the 1400s. The artist's name is not known, but at first glance you can notice a UFO shape in the sky to the right side of the Madonna. If you were to see the original full-size painting, you would see the object clearly. Looking at the enlargement, you can see a man and his dog standing and looking up at the object. However, this painting has something else being depicted. On the left side of the painting, you see the sun and some vector-like objects seemingly flying from or toward the sun. Perhaps this artist was trying to tell us something. In another painting of the Madonna, made by a completely different artist, the unusual patterns of the sun and the vector-like symbols have also been added prominently on the Madonna's cloak. You can see the same symbology on this painting as on the one before. This time, however, there is no UFO object to be seen anywhere in the sky. This footage was taken over Mexico City in 2002. There were many other videos and photographs taken of this same type of object, clearly resembling the shape as seen on the visor of the astronaut, on the moon, and depicted in the 14th century paintings of the Madonna and Child. There is probably a larger story behind the vectors, but it is very unusual this symbology has been adapted by all the United States and foreign space agencies, especially enemies like Iran and others who are also making missions to the moon.
Control Houston, switching now to the voice of Jim Lovell. By 60.5, good to hear your voice. Following Houston, what does the old moon look like from 60 miles, over?
Okay, Houston, the moon is essentially gray, no color.
Exactly 2 weeks before I finished editing the first version of Moon Rising, I found out that there's a website on the USGS, it's the United States Geological Survey website, where they have the moon in different colors. They have it on grayscale, they have it on Farks color, which is infrared and ultraviolet views of the moon. But they also have the spectral color, which is full natural color of the moon. And when I found this out, I just totally freaked out. I mean, first of all, when I airbrushed the moon to build the poster for my film, I didn't realize how close I was to the actual natural colors of the moon. My partner Saskia, she goes, Jose, are you sure you haven't been on the moon? Because it was so close, it was just amazing.
It's so unbelievably beautiful. all these natural colors that exist out there have never been shown to us. I've seen on TV the moon is gray and black, and it has no color. Well, that couldn't be farther from the truth. It's really compelling. I just want to see more, and it blew me away. It absolutely blew me away.
First of all, with the Clementine mission, they took 1.8 million images of the moon. The high-resolution ones, you can't seem to get any of them because, well, they give you different reasons why you can't get them, but you can't seem to get them. But there's also these natural color images, and they are much, much brighter. They have far more color than they should if our models of the moon are correct. Now, there's two ways you can approach this. One is it could very well be that some of these areas, let's say some of these areas under these glass structures, these domes, are still intact, that there's still atmosphere in there, that there is still stuff growing there. You know, you would obviously have plants and vegetation, you have various things there that you would need to survive, or that you would have simply for the aesthetics of living in an environment with plants and animals. So it's possible that's what some of this stuff is. Another distinct possibility, and this is the one that I tend to advocate, is that if you really do have these multiple layers of glass structures all over the moon, what's going to happen is that the light is going to scatter and bounce all over the place. And when it does that, you get a prism effect, and it then will combine with other red or green or blue, and it will make other colors.
In order to comprehend the significance about the natural color of the moon, you need to know where these images come from. This is what is called the skin of the moon. It is the actual surface that has been stretched and flattened out. When visual artists wrap this skin around a sphere in their 3D programs, this is what you get. Jose Escamilla downloaded hundreds of sections of the entire skin that is available on the USGS website. The area of interest is in this section here, located on the front side of the moon. When Jose zoomed into this particular section, he recognized some very unusual features and objects in the scene. First of all, the terrain below is clearly presenting itself at an angular view. The disc shape located here appears to be hovering above the surface. When you compare this disc with others that are closer to the terrain, you can clearly see this object is not down on the terrain. Jose found out very quickly that there are more of these discs all over the moon. The discs that you will see in other photos we are going to present are identical to this one. They are hovering on their sides, and sometimes they are hovering as these others below. The other discs you will see are different in color and details, but they are shining light onto the lunar surface as they do whatever they are doing close to the terrain. In all the photos Jose presents in this film, you are seeing the only clear and detailed photography ever released in full color of real flying saucers. NASA has known this, and so have the multitudes of people connected to the space program.
Another thing that I need to bring forth is, in my first film, UFO The Greatest Story Ever Denied, we had this whole segment on the STS footage of the things that are flying near the tether, things that have the donut hole, but they seem to be alive. I've come to find out that these things are thriving on the moon's surface. There's thousands of them, and they're hovering above the moon's surface, finding the full color imagery that you're looking at now, the natural colors of the moon. It brings us to a total new reality that the moon could have been teeming with life back in '94 when these photos were taken, or it may still be teeming with life.
And the truth is, once you look at these pictures of the moon or Mars, and you realize that this stuff is structure, that there's artificial structures there, pretty much everything's on the table.
There are so many lunar landscapes filled with color and textures unlike anything ever seen before with the human eye. There are deep crevices and overhangs where you can see immensely huge openings, or what appear to be cavern entrances. There are far too many gigantic and massive structures as can be described. You have to see them for yourself in order to grasp the size of these complex and in most cases alien-like architecture as you have seen in many films. You will even see some strange vine-like webbing as depicted in Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds. Glass domes, UFOs, massive buildings and scaffolding spread throughout the lunar terrain in many sizes, shapes, and forms. It is evident the missions to the moon were more involved than gathering rocks and dirt samples. There is no doubt we went to the moon. It is what was waiting for us when we got there that this film is about.
Finding the full color imagery that you're looking at now, the natural colors of the moon, it brings us to a total new reality that the moon could have been teeming with life back in '94 when these photos were taken, or it may still be teeming with life.
I think they are still there. They were there in the 70s when the last Apollo mission was there. I found lights on.
It seems that, at least in some areas of the moon, that the lights might still be on.
We're talking about the covering up of hyper-advanced technology that could do away with fossil fuels, our dependence on fossil fuels. We're talking about technology that allows for much quicker transport through space than we've ever been told.
What I think has happened is that all these other countries somehow have found out that we went there, that we brought back this technology, that we're exploiting this technology. And they want a piece of the action. So that's why, it's the only reason why they would spend the kind of money that they're spending, India, China, Japan, all these countries, to go back to the moon. To what? To collect rocks? No, they're going back there because there's something incredibly valuable there that they know that we have, the United States, brought back, that they want a piece of. And it's a tremendous risk. You know, there's not just simply the risk to the astronauts' lives. There's, if you believe some of the stories, there's even a risk to, other people that might already be there.
In the end result, I have found that the moon is in full color. It's not a black and white object. It's not made of, impact craters and this kind of thing. There's a lot more to it. NASA has deliberately tampered a lot of the photography. They've eliminated the crosshairs to eliminate what was in the background in the sky or in the landscapes. And there are some very significant things that have occurred. All we say, we don't know the answers.
You know, in this whole realm, none of these individual researchers, not necessarily Jose, not Richard and I, we don't have all the answers. We all have a piece of the puzzle. We all see different parts of it. And there's certain aspects of this that we're all good at.
All I'm presenting to you, and it's backed up with facts, all my films present you with evidence that is fully acknowledged.